Trigger warning. The following messages may contain sensitive subject matter to some. If you are not in the position to hear potentially triggering topics, please exit the video now. Thank you. Okay, hello. It is only Oracle here today with a pick a card reading. Welcome to, or welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about shadow work. We are getting all up into it. What's your shadow? How to deal with it? The advantages of disadvantages of your shadow. I also think we don't just have one shadow side, just like we don't have one light side. I think this is always a spectrum of things. But these are the messages that came through, and I'm just going to share them with you. I do have a trigger warning on this. I put that on there very specifically because I have one pile that kind of touches a lot of touchy subjects. The other ones are pretty okay, but I won't say which one because I want you to be able to choose. Anyway, I have 4 piles here today. Pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. Take a second, see which pile calls to you, and then when you're ready, jump into your reading. What am I saying? Go to the description and jump to your timestamp, and I will see you at your reading. Bye. Okay, hello, lovely. Try that again. Okay, hello, lovely pile number 1. So, if you picked this card, Easy Does It, then this is going to be your reading. So, I'll give it the rundown as usual. We're looking at shadow work, and we're going to look at who you are first, so you can see if this is your reading. If this part does not feel like it matches you, maybe pick another pile. Then we're going to look at what your shadow is, how to deal with it, and then the advantages and disadvantages of your shadow, along with an extra message here, just some light and dark attributes you may have. So to go ahead and get started with this reading, who you are. You picked the Easy Does It card, which seems to me to speak of your abundance. I think you're someone who is very beautiful, very talented. You have a lot going for you. That's the energy I hear. You have a lot going for you naturally. This isn't someone who has to work super hard, okay? That's not that you don't have to work hard, but naturally you're blessed with a lot more gifts than I think the average person is. But let's look at the tarot. We have 3 cards here. Oh, yeah. We have the 3, wow, all in reverse. Okay, so you have the 3 of Cups, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Death card in reverse. Don't be afraid here, okay? What this is telling me is that a lot of your gifts, pile number 1, are still unawakened, meaning you don't currently access everything you can do. This reminds me of that order of angels. I think it's like the Seraphim or something, but there's this order of angels that essentially were so blessed, they destroy themselves because it's like they have this guilt for being as talented as they are. I think you're someone who struggles with a lot of guilt and a lot of self-doubt or a lot of negative self-talk that because you are so powerful. And I think you're someone who doesn't have many friends, okay? Not that you can't be popular or coveted, because it seems like you are. Again, you have a very I'm trying to find the right word here. It's just magnetic isn't even the right word to describe your energy. You have a very, and powerful wouldn't be the right word either. It's just, I think angelic would be the word. You have a very angelic energy to you. And I don't think, again, I hear some people in the comments feeling like this isn't their pile because they don't relate to that. But that's the point. Like for this pile, it's kind of funny because even though I said pick another pile if this doesn't relate, I feel like I'll say things that won't relate to you because for a lot of you, you're not awakened to your talents or to your gifts or to your being, to the essence of who you are. So I do feel you are quite a loner. You may not have a lot of friends. You may not have a lot of people who associate with you closely or who actually know this real side of you. Followed by that with the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. I yeah, I just get the energy of something that's not developed yet, that's unseen, um, that's almost hidden and very slow moving. So I think you can be slow moving. It's like either you get lost in your mind or it takes you a while to formulate ideas or sentences, but there's something about your progress that can seem slow at times, and I think kind of oscillates between being extremely rapid and then extremely slow, because you have the Death card in reverse, and the Death card is transformation. The Death card is ruled by Scorpio, and if you know anything about the Scorpio sign, it is transformation, rebirth, it has regeneration, and so there's something about you that is like very transformative. It's very transformative. And so this is who you are. Let's look at your shadow, because I do feel with all of these cards in reverse, you struggle with your shadow, and you may be struggling with your shadow side right now. You in particular, pile one. Oh yeah. Okay, you have, wow, you have the Seven of Wands, or Seven of Swords. My apologies. The first thought that came to my mind was swallowing your own words or eating your own lies. You know, swallowing your own sense of self-worth. It's funny because in this particular deck, which I love this deck. In this particular deck, the Seven of Swords is typically someone carrying a bunch of swords. In the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, it's carrying a bunch of swords. But in this one, she's swallowing it. There's a knife going into her own throat. I feel you silence yourself a lot. You filter yourself a lot. You don't allow your existence to be free flowing. I told you I got this energy of someone who was very angelic, very in touch with the divine, very powerful, and all of this is unawakened, though. It's not tapped into. Or even if it's awake because you're here maybe and you've awakened some of these, it's not being utilized. Okay? I almost feel like you're a coma patient who just isn't awake, or you've woken up but you can't move. You know those movies where there's the heroine goes into a coma but then they wake up and they're like watching themselves but they can't do anything? That's kind of your energy, except I feel it is self-inflicted. No one is keeping you from doing things except you. And I think that is because you have so many gifts and so many blessings. There's a lot of guilt that I see, a lot of self-sabotage here. And so your shadow side is the side of you that is almost, it's self-destructive. Again, you destroy you. No one else does it for you. Your shadow side, I think, it's like, what is this energy here? I'm going to get a clarifier. The shadow side of pile number one. It's like you eat your own words. That's what it is. You're very self-critical. That's a big part of this. I see a lot of criticalness. Okay, you have the Queen of Swords in reverse and yeah. Okay, because you have the 7 again. 7 may be an important number too, but what am I seeing here? The main thing about you is that you have the Queen of Swords here. And so I think you have a lot of knowledge, but it's like, again, you just constantly downplay yourself. You constantly act like you aren't as powerful as you are. And I think that is like, it's like you're victorious, because the 7 also is the Chariot. So I think you're a victorious person who is almost masquerading as someone who isn't. And we're going to keep going with this and get more, but I just want you to have an idea of what your shadow is. The point for you is that everyone is their own shadow, but you in particular are the reason it has a lot to do with your own thoughts and your own talk towards yourself. That's your shadow. Let's see. So how to deal with that? We have the 2 of Swords, yeah. And, oh my gosh, you literally have the Chariot. I cannot make this up. 7 must be a very important number to you. Yeah, you're very intelligent. That's something. And intelligent people, I mean, again, this would make sense why you don't have many friends. Intelligent people are not only often lonely, but they are destructive of themselves. I literally just referenced this in the last video of blessings coming your way, and maybe you picked that pile, but I think it was like pile, I'm not going to give the exact pile, but there's a pile where I talked about the Queen's Gambit and how Elizabeth, the main character in that Netflix series, her main issue, her main enemy is herself and her own mind. And I feel that is you. Your mind is your prison. Your mind is the thing that holds you back from all the things you're capable of doing, because you are a person of many, many talents. Many, many talents. I don't say that lightly, but it's like you constantly find ways to talk yourself down. You constantly find ways to invalidate yourself. To look at this, like I think this card sums up your energy, your shadow perfectly. You find ways to just destroy yourself. You swallow your own sword. No one else is in this picture, which is funny because before in the Rider Waite, it's like there's a tent in the back, but there's nothing. There's just you and the moon. And so you are so smart that you destroy yourself in a lot of ways, and you sabotage yourself in a lot of ways from getting what you really want. Yeah, and from getting anything long term. It's like you, and also some of you, I did say you could be slow moving, but I'm also getting this kind of quick, fast paced energy you may also have, which is why you do not finish things that you start. It's like you have a very almost scattered energy. You have a very philosophical, wise energy, but it's like you're not awake to a lot of things. So let's see the advantages of the shadow side. Okay, yeah, this makes so much sense. See, I told you have this speech with yourself where you're so talented, but you constantly talk yourself down. I think you fear pride. They say pride is the devil, and I think a part of you fears evil. I even get that with the death in reverse. A part of you fears evil and fears that in yourself, or thinks that is something that is in you. I have very dark energy here, and dark and evil are not the same. So I think you do have dark energy, but you mistake that for being evil. And I'm hearing very clearly you're not. So if you think, I get someone who might even say something like, oh, I'm such a bad person, or I don't know, just a lot of negative self-talk. I'm not talented, or I'm so stupid, or all of these things. And even if you don't say these things out loud, these are thoughts that pass in your brain. Again, there's a lot that goes on in your head. And the advantage of this, so this is the advantage of your shadow side. The advantage of this shadow side is you're not going to be the devil. You know what I'm saying? The part of, if you've ever read the Bible, the whole thing of the devil is he wants power. He's prideful. He doesn't want to admit that God is greater, or he doesn't want to admit that, I don't know, to serve humanity. He doesn't want to admit that there is anything above him. Why should he not rule heaven? Is he not better? Is he not capable? Was he not the best angel there was? And so that's the sort of pride that can lead you to sticky situations. I think it's something you actively avoid. And I think that is an advantage of this, is that you are humble by nature, even if you don't seem like it. Like, you're very humble because you don't want to fall prey to a power trip. I think that's what it is. You have so much power, you're afraid of it because you don't want to go on a power trip. So you had 3 cards come out for your disadvantage, which is interesting to me, and we're going to take them one at a time. So yeah, see, the card you have right for the disadvantage is selling out. Like, you're afraid to, the disadvantage is you're afraid of your own power, that it's like you're afraid to sell out. I think that's part of it. Like, you're afraid to sell out. You may be someone who doesn't want to sell out, but it ends up being that the disadvantage is like you sell out yourself. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to sell out to someone else. I'm trying to think of like what they call like a sellout. It's kind of like if you were to be able to do a movie, but then you have to work with a director who is known for doing inappropriate things in Hollywood, like a Me Too movement. This is just an example. So say you're like, okay, well, I need my big break, and I can't do it unless I work with this person. You're the type of person who say no to that, but in essence, you sell out yourself because you have so many more gifts that, like, sometimes I think you have to pick the lesser of 2 evils, and I think you have such a strong moral code that sometimes you'd rather not choose at all. You know, it's like, I get with how to deal this 2 of Swords. It's like you have to learn to deal with your analysis paralysis. You have to learn how to deal with merging your shadow side and not just being fearful of it. Followed by that, we have patience. I'm going to just move these over. This is still your advantage, but... and I think this is also sliding over the disadvantage is also an advantage, because... you have strong integrity. So that's something else that this kind of shadow grants you. But we have patience. So the disadvantage is, yeah, you can take too long. I told you that earlier. You can take too long to get what you deserve. You can take too long to make a decision because you are, yeah, you're constantly trying to it's almost like keep your inner peace, which I don't think is a bad thing. But when you're as intelligent as you are, or when you have as many gifts as you do, it's almost as if for the greater good, you have to give a little. You know, you got to give a little. Because yeah, I think you can, the disadvantage is you can trap yourself. Like you get trapped in the same place or the same life. And that could frustrate you. I could see that frustrating anyone, or wondering why things don't change in your life. Things don't change in your life because you're not changing. And you're not changing because you're afraid. That's the part. You're afraid. I think you're afraid of I think you're really afraid of your own power. Like I do get the sense of maybe you're afraid of failure for sure, but it's like you're afraid of eating your own words. I think you're afraid of, so say you go do this thing and then it doesn't work out and it's like you look like a fool. You know, you're afraid of almost like you feel stupid, but you're also afraid of looking stupid. It's a very interesting mix we have here. But I feel like you don't want to eat your own words, or you've said things and you want to make sure that you're true to them. And so you'll kind of trap yourself into things. I feel like you trap yourself a lot with what you say, with specifically what you say and what you think, like your mental processes about yourself. So this was your extra card of your shadow and lights attributes, and you have teacher. And so it says the light attribute about you. You see ability to communicate. Like you are a communicator. You have a powerful communication skill. And I didn't even notice this, but this dove is surrounding her mouth and going down through her neck and throat. You're a powerful speaker. Okay, you have a powerful voice, and this scares you because, again, you don't want to eat your own words. There's a lot of this here with speech and mental thought. So you have a very analytical, very strong mind, but that's part of your shadow attribute because it actually keeps you from achieving a lot of your long-term goals or things you want. But anyway, so you're a teacher. Like you have so much knowledge to share, and I think it's about you not doubting your abilities, because you are ability to communicate knowledge, experience, skill, or wisdom. Like you're a teacher. You see the little details of a thing, but I think you also can see the big picture. So you're able to break down big picture things into little tiny steps, but you're also able to take all those little tiny steps, put them together, and look at this greater picture. You have an amazing mind. That did not come through earlier, and I wish it had. So if you clicked out, that sucks. But the shadow attribute is manipulating or abusing students, teaching negative traits and destructive skills. See, and that would be like a fear of yours rather than something you actively do. I feel that strongly. That shadow attribute is not something you are, but it's something you fear. Again, pride, like thinking you know best. You never want to be a you know best, which is a very wise thing. But when it's taken to the extreme where you're so afraid of being wrong or eating your own words, you don't do anything, that's when it can be detrimental. So their advice was, we had the Two of Swords and the Chariot in reverse. And I think the main advice here is to really look at your shadow side and acknowledge it. I think you're someone who may, even if you don't struggle to acknowledge it, maybe you struggle to know what to do with it. So can I get anything else for how pile number 1 can deal with their... Ooh. Okay. Card. We have the 5 of Cups upright, 4 of Swords upright, yeah, and the Ace of Wands in reverse. So I'm going to move this over slightly. It's still in the frame. Okay. I think the advice for you is you do need to learn how to give yourself rest, like mental rest. And this is something I struggle with. So I'm not the best person necessarily to say how to give yourself mental rest, but I think that's something you need to research, is not just physical rest, but specifically your mind, like slowing your mind down, learning how to, I think meditation might be something really, really big. And I know they say that in a lot of these spiritual videos, but for you, it's like, it might be something you actually need to practice. You actually need to really I said actually like twice. You need to Google, get into, look at, evaluate, and use your brain to find a way to implement it in, because you need to learn how to rest your mind. You're never going to be able to really progress away from the shadow side as long as your mind is constantly fighting itself. And I think that's what they're showing here with this Two of Swords. As long as you're constantly mentally fighting yourself, you're really not able to move forward. And I think that you also need to acknowledge that some of why you intellectualize things so much is because you don't like to deal with things that hurt. You don't like to deal with your own emotional pain. They can be quite overwhelming, and so it becomes easier to rationalize it. And so they want you to learn to rest your mind and sit in your feelings, which I don't think you like. Well, some of you may like it, but it's like you don't like to like sit in the negative feelings. That yeah, they're like, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, who likes to sit in negative feelings? Not most people, but I don't feel like you in particular, you don't like to just wallow. You're not a wallower, and that might be part of the problem. Is sometimes you need to wallow. Like sometimes you just need to feel sad about things. Sometimes you need to slow down and stop moving because like some out of sadness, there can be a creation bred. There can be a lot of new ideas. There can be a lot of because you have this Ace of Wands in reverse. I feel like by taking that rest, you will get a different vision of the world than you've had. But it's like as long as you turn away from your shadow side, as long as you turn away from this into this over intellectualization and this over thought and fear of yourself, then you're never going to get to where you really want to go. Um, yeah, and so I do feel like not just finding mental peace, but finding almost a tranquility. Yeah, I feel that a tranquility is the word. Finding tranquility in your own mind where your mind is not an obstacle. And I think your mind is often your obstacle. And when you overcome that, I think you'll be feel that it's a lot easier for you to communicate and share with people and put out all your genius to really feel more a part of this world, if you understand what I'm saying. So that is all I am seeing for you, Pile 1. I hope this was a helpful reading. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did not have suggestions, if you like the style of having things kind of laid out, comment down below. I'm going to maybe start doing polls or something to get some feedback on different ways to do things because I'm always looking to improve and to switch things up so it is better, understandable, grasp. It can be easier grasped by you guys and changed. But yeah, that's all I have for you, and I will see you in the next one, Pile 1. Bye. Okay, hello, Pile 2. If you chose a fertility card, then this is going to be your reading. We're going to start with who you are, then we're going to take a look at your shadow, then we're going to take a look at how to deal with it, and then we're going to look at the advantages and disadvantages of your shadow. So let's start with who you are. You have fertility, and I'm just going to go ahead and flip these up. This was in the last pile too, that's so funny. Okay, you have the Knight of Pentacles, the World of Reverse, Queen of Pentacles in reverse, and Six of Wands upright. You may have been also drawn to pile number 1. I had some similar cards fall out, but there are some differences. So for one, I feel you are a pretty balanced person. You have a very healing energy. Yeah, I get healer energy from this heavy. Very feminine energy too. You could be a male because we do have some masculine here, but I feel more feminine energy from this. I think you are a person who is very lucky, okay? You're very lucky, and that reveals itself in many different ways, but with the rabbit and I think even the Six of Wands, you're someone who is looked at and regarded very highly by other people, and I think interiorly you feel sometimes like it's what you do or who you are isn't good enough. I really get that with the Queen of Pentacles, like how maybe you do things doesn't feel good enough, but to other people it looks amazing. So I think you have this weird interior exterior view, like you come off to other people as someone who is hardworking, patient, structured, very victorious, but it feels like almost inside you don't have those same beliefs, which again we're looking at shadows, so it makes sense that the interior is coming through, that not everyone feels confident all the time, but for you I feel you don't see yourself the way other people see you, and I think other people think very highly of you, but you don't think as highly, or you don't feel as highly of yourself. So let's take a look at your shadow. We have the Seven of Cups in reverse and the Eight of Wands. Okay, so I get the feeling that you feel you might move too slow, or like I just get this, that your shadow side is you not being aware of your talents. You are someone who is like pile 1. I do get similar, but they were more mental. It feels you're more of an emotional person, not in a bad way, okay? It's cool if you're emotional, but it's more as like you run with your emotions. You do what you feel more than what you think. I feel less an energy of just overthinking or thinking a lot with this pile. It feels more like you feel your way through things. You kind of go that way. And I think you're very artistic, but it's almost like you turn away. Your shadow side is like turning away from your talent. Yeah. Turning away from your talent, I feel, is your biggest shadow. Is you're focused, you put your focus on the wrong parts. It's like you don't see your gifts, and when you get divine messages, it's almost, I feel like you get them a lot, and it's almost like you know what you're supposed to be doing, but you're so focused on either security or something else. Your shadow side is kind of manifesting as focusing more on security, or focusing more on moving, or movement, or focusing more on, I think, with this Eight of Wands, I really get the feeling of like defensive energy, despite that being more Seven of Wands energy. The way this Eight of Wands is with her holding this scythe, I think that's the right word. It feels like you're more focused on constantly being vigilant for threats. That's something. It's like instead of focusing on creating or what you love, you're always tense, waiting for someone to knock you down, or waiting for someone to say something bad about you. And it's like people generally think pretty well about you. You have a lot of admiration. Yes, you may have one or two haters, but for the most part, it's like people view you highly. Even the people who don't like you view you highly. They might say some stuff, but that's it. But it's like you're constantly feeling like people are attacking you, or you have to stay ready for an attack. And that is just, I don't think that's the case. I really don't get that indication here. I feel like that's an internal thing you have to work through. So how do you deal with it? You only had one card. Yeah, okay, yours is very simple here. Your shadow, I've just talked about. How do you deal with it? Stop giving it attention. Stop giving other people's words, other people's not necessarily their praise. Like, you can take their praise and really internalize it, but I don't think you do. That's part of the problem. Is you take the insults or any slight you see towards yourself, and that you take into account, and that you internalize. Yeah, you internalize all the negative comments people say, but it's like there's so many people, there's so many things that people think wonderful about you that you don't give that attention. You give the wrong things attention. That's what I feel. You give the wrong comments, the wrong things attention. And so as long as you do that, you're never focusing on just creating, which is what you should be doing. Because I feel that, I mean, this is legitimately a painter. I see a painter, I see hands. So you're very artistic, okay? That's your thing. And you know what they say about artistic or creative people? They're very sensitive, generally speaking. That's how they're able to tap into these sort of things. And a lot of people won't share their gifts because they're afraid of ridicule. And it might have been, this could be something that stems back to childhood, because in school people are not always kind to creative individuals. So you may have been someone who was bullied when you were younger, or had some type of trauma when you're younger, which is why you feel so defensive about any sort of slight you may think is coming at you, even if they're not real. You know what I mean? Like, even if they're not real slights, you feel them. And so it's really just you have to stop giving it attention. You have to stop letting it take up mental space in your brain. It's like you're giving it the power over you. You're giving those comments power over you. And that's kind of the shadow work you have to do. So let's see the advantage of your shadow work. Oh, I forgot you had two cards. Okay. You have love and self-sabotage. Interesting that self-sabotage came as your positive. I think what this is saying for this, why this shadow is your advantage, is like it makes you, I'm hearing it makes you aware of the ways that you are sabotaging yourself. Birds may be a big thing with you, or flight. I keep being drawn to birds. There's the eagle. This is either a crow or a raven, and then we have a owl over here. So I don't know if you have something with birds or flight or wings imagery, the imagery of wings itself. Yeah, you may feel very connected with like the sky and the stars and stuff. But I think the advantage is I feel like you know self-sabotage when you see it, and you know when you're doing it to yourself. This gives you an awareness of, I feel like this gift gives you an awareness of what's you and what isn't. Yes, that's very important, because you see here, she's here, but it's like her demons are on her shoulder, and they're not her, but in essence, they're like an extension of her. So it's like these are the people who are saying bad things, or your previous traumas that are on you, and that isn't you. So I think the you underneath that is very pure, and that's one of the advantages. You remain very pure. You just kind of have like a demon, or not an actual demon. I don't think you have an actual demon, but like a little negative, like the imagery here, a little guy or a little voice on your shoulder that's, almost making you paranoid, like, watch out, they're going to attack, or watch out, they're going to take away your security, or they're going to say something bad about your work. And really and truly, I think, this is easier for me to say because I don't struggle with this, but really and truly, who the cares? Like, who cares what they think? You're no longer in school, or you're no longer with people who have control over you. You give them control. And it's hard when something is formed in our childhood. I get that. And we have been bullied and we have been hurt by people. It is so hard to overcome those harsh words that you have heard when you're young. I totally understand. But you're never going to be able to create and put all the things out there and have this growth that you want. This life, I think this life that you want with the world card, if you constantly are always looking at threats, you know, because it's almost like you're manifesting them into your life. I'm not saying that for sure, or like that, you know, I'm not a whole big believer of the everything, you know, everything's a reflection, yeah, but like sometimes there are crappy people and I don't think that's your fault. And I don't know why we act like, oh, I'm just constantly attracting that. And it's like, that's not exactly, but that could be part of it, if you understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's all of it or that's exactly it, but it could be something where you keep repeating the pattern. And so I think learning to just not, I just keep hearing like, don't give it attention, don't give it mental space. And the more you do it, I think the easier it will get for you to do that, to not give it mental space, to the point where it's like, you see here, she sticks, this moon is sticking out its tongue. It's like you'll get to the point where you just laugh at it. You'll be like, you're so stupid. Like, you could never, you know, you could never touch me. So the disadvantage of that is you have temptation. The disadvantage of your shadow side is, I think it leaves you in an imagination land where you do all of these things. Yeah, I get an imagination land where you see yourself having the fame, or you see yourself getting rewarded for your creative endeavors and pursuits, but it never actually happens. So you live. The disadvantage of this is you living entirely in a fictional world that doesn't exist. So for example here, this is just an example, maybe you've always wanted to write fan fiction, okay? You've always wanted to write a Wattpad story. Fine. But you're so afraid of like getting negative comments or someone saying your story isn't good or talking about how your grammar's wrong that you've never actually published a story. And the point would be that the temptation would be just to keep reading these stories and absorbing all these fictional worlds and never actually producing and outputting your own. And so I think that is your disadvantage of your gift. But also it can, you know, the way advantages and disadvantages work is they can be switched around depending on the situation, right? Like they're not, just because something is a disadvantage at this point in time does not mean it is always a disadvantage. You will find that your strengths are your weaknesses sometimes, and your weaknesses are your strengths. There is no exact science. There is no exact 100% of the time this is a weakness, and 100% of the time this is a strength. You know, because, for example, if you talk a lot around the right people, that's a strength. Around the wrong people, it's just freaking annoying. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know because I'm annoying. So your gifts can vary dependent on the crowd. And so I think this is something to say that the temptation to live in your fictional world is a weakness right now because it's keeping you from actually producing work. So let's look at your other cards. You have Shapeshifter and Detective. I get the Detective going in line with this 8 of Wands because you are very intuitive and you have really good observational skills. And what that means is, of course, you notice any minor little threat or change because you're sensitive. And the thing about being sensitive is it's been made to be a negative word, but really all it means is that you can feel or you are aware of very minute changes. That's literally, like, look it up. That's really what it means. It's like you're very in tune, in a sense, to notice any change that occurs. And that can be at times overwhelming and annoying because it's like you're constantly noticing someone just speaks a little different, or, you know, doesn't greet you the same in the morning as they did before. But I think for you, what they're trying to say here is your greatest attribute is that, but also it could be your weakness, because I think you, I haven't done the other piles yet, but I think you, pile 2, could be an internet troll. I'm not saying you are one right now, but you have the capability to be. You know, you have the capability to do what others did to you. That's what I feel. So like if you were bullied online or something, or you have had bullies, you have the potential, because you've experienced that energy, to put that out and also be a bully. And so, but on the other end, it can make you observational, like someone who stands up for the injustice. But on one hand, it can also make you the person who dishes out those injustices. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then finally with Shapeshifter, I just see so many, this is a very creative pile. There's no other way to put it. You can, not only can you see where everything can go wrong with this detective card, I feel like you can see all the ways things that can go right. And I think that's ties in with the disadvantages, because like things don't always go according to your imagination or your dream. But the point is, if you work and produce something, you can make that dream happen in its own right. And then you get to be the person, like, you can make your dreams come true. I guess that's what I'm hearing very strongly. You know, I hear, call me corny, but I hear that Lizzie McGuire song, "This is what dreams are made of," you know? Dreams, you know, this is what dreams are made of, baby. Like, you can make your own dreams come true. You can become an international pop star, baby, you know? Not everyone will become an international pop star, no, but if that was like your biggest dream and you have the talent or the drive to do it, I think the only thing holding you back is you. What's really funny about this, as an aside, is you just think about the most talented person in the world you know, or you've heard of. Okay, just go with the most talented person you've heard of. Chances are in this world, they are not the most talented person that's ever existed. Let's just even give an example here. Ariana Grande, okay, this is just an example because she's a great singer, blah, blah, blah. She is a talented singer. No denial there. She's a good singer. She has a good whistle tone. She has a good tone. She's very good. She has terrible enunciation, though. Let's put that out there. And she is not the best singer in the world, okay? We don't, like, I feel like there is someone who is a better singer than her, but hasn't gone after it, hasn't chased after it. So I mean this to say that there are a lot of people who are more talented than the people you know of. It's just those people never go after what they want, therefore you don't know about them. Does that make sense? That's kind of the crossroad I feel like you are at with your shadow self, is the more you hide or the more you just try and focus on defending yourself or keeping your security or keeping yourself from being hurt or attacked and defending that, you're never going to get where you want to go. So, yeah, you're never going to be an Ariana Grande, you know what I'm saying? And if you had dreams of being an Ariana Grande, I mean, her impersonators make it pretty darn far, you know? So, there's a niche to be made anywhere for anyone, even for the spiritual community, even for anywhere. And I do feel like I just keep getting drawn to the Seven of Cups, where generally to me, this is like the sign of options and daydreams, which I think is something you struggle with. I feel a very strong Pisces energy here. But you don't have to be a Pisces. I feel water and air here. But I keep being drawn to the Seven of Cups, not as being indicative of you having false leads, although there is that, but more indicative like just how freaking creative you are. You have such a creative eye and vision, and I think you have an artistic eye. You may have a sense for style. Maybe you've always wanted to make like a TikTok style or a Pinterest page or a Tumblr blog. I don't know, but like maybe you've always wanted to do something with your creativity and especially your looks, because I do feel you have an affinity for beauty. You have a good eye for beauty, and these are gifts that should be shared. I feel like it's this one. Yeah, and you have the Lovers in reverse. Yeah. You have a very keen eye for beauty. And we saw this here with detection. Look at the way her eye is. You have a very good eye for beauty, but also a good eye for threats. And I do feel like your creative endeavors, y'all, because this came out of advantage. We didn't even talk about this. I kind of glossed over it, but we're going to go back now. This right here, it could lead you to love. The more you focus on creating, the more you do whatever it is you not just enjoy, but you have a talent in, the chances of you finding the partner who you're going to find people looking at you. And I feel like one of the people in the crowds of people looking at you is a soulmate, because we have the Lovers and love here twice. So it's a very strong message to me that you have a soulmate, you have a lover who is out there. But yeah, I hear as long as your gifts are kept hidden, or as long as you're constantly if you're this Eight of Wands, or you're constantly on the defense, constantly on the ready for someone to attack you, you're not going to, I don't know if it's you won't see it or you won't get it, but it's not going to come. So, are there any other messages for pile number 2? Yeah. Look at this. Okay, I told you that I was reading this Eight of Wands, which is generally about movement, like the Seven of Wands, because that's how it's been coming out. And then you literally got the Seven of Wands come out, which is just funny to me. So yeah, you gotta, I think instead of standing against being hurt or standing against being attacked, stand up for what you believe in, for what you like, for what you love to do. Stand up for your passion, stand up for your joy, stand up for your creativity. I feel this very strongly. Stand up for that. Stop standing up to just defend yourself. Stop standing up just to give trolls attention, or people on your who comment on your pictures and say you're ugly, or say you're not talented, or say you're weird or you're different. Like, stop giving them attention. They're not going to pay your bills. Actually, they might be able to, because if they keep viewing all your videos, you get paid. For example, here, not a lot of people like Eugenia Cooney. If you haven't heard of her, good. But she got really big because she was like anorexic. She struggles. As we know, she struggles with the eating disorder. But anyway, she got big because people were watching her videos too. I mean, she was already big, but it was like her videos got even bigger because people were afraid she was going to die. And I don't say that lightly. I'm saying so she would get tons of hate comments saying her body was ugly and stuff like that. But it's like, also, all of those views you're giving her, she still gets ads, she still gets revenue, and it's like you're still paying her bills. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's how you need to start looking at your haters. And that's right here where we have the Five of Swords, how to deal with it, how he's just kind of sticking out his tongue and laughing. It's like, baby, you're going to pay my bills. Like, whether you give me positive or negative attention is still attention. And no, I don't need your attention. I think that's clear. You don't need their attention, but their views on your videos, if you're trying to be a creative person, having word of mouth, good or bad, it brings in some sort of revenue. People have heard of you. They're still more likely to go for something they've heard of than something they haven't, because they haven't heard of it yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's just another way to look at it, that to just really start standing up for what you love rather than just trying to keep yourself safe or protected. And that is all I have for you, Pile 2. So if you enjoyed this reading, comment down below. I hope to see... Comment down below if you do have a creative thing that you're working on. Of course, I always love to support other people. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, hello, Pile number 3. If you chose the Cycles and Rhythms card, then this is going to be your reading. Let's get into this. So with this Cycles and Rhythms card, right away, I'm feeling that you are very intuitive and you are very influenced by the earth. Let's see. You have the Knight of Swords. Oh, yeah. This is who you are. Oh, I'm sorry. I did this for the other piles and I didn't. We're starting with who you are. Then we're going to get into what your shadow is. We're going to look at how to deal with it, and then the advantages and disadvantages of your shadow side. Okay? So right now we're looking at who you are. Okay. So we have the Knight of Swords upright, the Four of Wands upright. We have the Ten of Wands upright, the Tower in reverse, and the Knight of Cups in reverse. Wow, we have someone with energy galore, okay? You are someone who is very, I get sturdy. You're a sturdy person. You're a person who endures. You are the type of person, I don't know why this came to my mind, and this may be slightly inappropriate, but like, if you were to have lived during a war or something like that, you would be one of those people who survives, you know? Or I specifically heard, I don't know if you have Jewish ancestry, maybe that's why I've heard this, because I was immediately drawn to the Holocaust, and that's not like a positive thing, but if you are Jewish, maybe that's why that came through. But the point about that is, or you have Jewish heritage, the point about that is people who lived through that, people who lived through all the things that happened during that, you would be one of those people. So, I think I have some stuff in the... Okay, anyway, so yeah, you are a survivor through and through. A survivor would be the word for you. You can make it through things that most people would never be able to. I get the sense of a very strong individual with still... There's something about you that is brave. Like, I just get that. You have 2 knights here, and you have the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Cups, and I think the only reason you didn't get the Knight of Wands or the Knight of Coins is because you have these wands here already, and then you have the Tower. So I think that you are someone who, okay, you're someone who is easily able to overcome a lot of things. Like, I don't know, I just get someone who charges forward in life. Even if you're afraid, you do things anyway. There's a fearless energy to you, Pile 3, that is unlike any of the previous piles I've just done, and unlike most people. There's something very unique and special about you and how you handle being in the world. Yeah, if that resonated, then that lets you know that this is your pile. And also, this is ruled by Mars, the Tower, so yeah, you're just someone very, very capable, very... I would say the other word for you is you very much operate in a masculine energy. Even if you're a woman, you just have a lot of... I just hear go-getter. You're a go-getter. You get what you want. Okay, your shadow is the 10 of Swords. That's funny. I got this kind of with the way you take on too much. You have 2 10s here, so I think you're capable, but I think a lot of other people's thoughts or a lot of other people's needs can be placed on you and become your own. So it's funny because your shadow self is manifesting itself. The word for it isn't people pleasing. The word for it would more so be wanting to, I guess it's in a way people pleasing, but not in the way you would traditionally think. It's not like you cower to other people's demands, but you take everyone's thoughts into consideration, and I think that can sort of leave it where you feel boxed in and trapped by what other people expect of you or by what other people think. It's like you are not the reason you're in the box. It is, I feel like this is external. Like people will put a lot of demands on you or a lot of their opinions, or they'll want you to help them with this, or because you're so strong with this 10 of wands here, they'll want you to take on their problems. But it's like you allow that. If I get what, if you understand what, it's not even that you allow it, but it's like you don't know how to stop it. You don't know how to get out of the box and be like, no, that's fine, that's not for me. And so it kind of bleeds you out. I think you're too, in essence, this is what it is. It's coming through clear that you're almost too generous, and that is your shadow self. But your generosity is, when it's abused, it's not taken away like it should be. So let's see what we're actually going to switch it up. I've been doing that next, but I want to see your advantages of this. So you have cycles, which I did not, I pre-pulled these, but I didn't look at these. And it's funny to me that you got cycles because you have cycles and rhythms here. Yeah, I think you have a very natural, intuitive touch and flow with the universe. Time might be something very important to you, or I also feel like you follow your inner compass a lot. You don't worry about whether something, how do I put this? You don't worry about whether something appears right. You just worry about if it feels right for you, and then you just go towards that. And I think sometimes that can get you in a sticky situation where you're trying to, it's not even, you're like trying to accommodate other people, but at the same time you can't, because you know the path to go. I just get this. You know where you're going. You know what you're doing. You know how to transform things. And I think your light, you have a very strong light that naturally, a very strong fire in you that just draws people to you. And then all of a sudden they're like betraying you or sticking. I think I think also with this 10 of wands, you have a huge fear of betrayal or fear of being backstabbed by people close to you. That is something else coming through very strongly with your shadow side, is a fear of betrayal. But yeah, the advantage of this shadow side is you're literally able to transmute negative energy, even your shadow side, into positivity. Y'all, pile 3, you're popping. It be like that sometimes. You have incredible transmutive power to take something negative and turn it positive. Look at the way she dances. I mean, you are a powerhouse. You're a powerhouse. There's no other way to put it. And you're so in touch. And this does feel rather blind, where you don't have to consciously look for the divine or consciously tap into the divine energy. You just are, some people, they need tarot decks maybe to feel connected. I feel like you don't, or praying or something. You don't need anything. I feel you could just walk into nature and you would feel it. You would feel that connection. You don't have to work at it. You have a very intuitive grasp of the world. You have a very intuitive grasp of nature, human nature. I think that's why you feel betrayal too. Because I also had the 7 of wands which popped up in what pile? Pile number 1. So okay, so how to deal with this? We have the 7 of swords, and I kind of feel like 7 swords is both your shadow and how to deal with it. And then we have the King of Swords. So I feel that to deal with your shadow side, yeah, I think you need to be fair to yourself. I think you need to be more fair to yourself. I think you can give yourself unrealistic expectations because you're so capable. I just see this tendency to take on too much, or to take on too much of other people's demands and stuff. And then you're like scared of betrayal, but you're also scared of letting people down. And it's like, you don't owe anyone anything, pile number 3. I think people make you feel like that, or they try, not even if they do, but they try to make you feel like that. They try to make you feel like you owe them something, and you don't owe anyone anything. And I think for you with the 7 of wands, yeah, I think you need to take your own advice. That's what I hear. I hear actually that Kalani song, like, it's time to take my own advice. When people hurt you or do something, it's like, take your own advice. What would you do in that situation? What would you say to a person in that situation? Because you are very compassionate. So I feel you need to have that energy for yourself. I'm also feeling it's like you need to eat your own words. And when I say eat your own words, it's like, okay, so if I'm trying to think of an example here. It's like, okay, in the instance of being so afraid of being betrayed, you think everyone, we're just going to use this as an example. So say you're afraid your shadow side is manifesting as like you're afraid to be betrayed by a romantic partner or something because you've been cheated on before. Sure, we'll just go with that. You are not a cheater, and you have not cheated. And so your constant fear of this thing is almost like invalid because you're proof that there are people who don't cheat in the world. You know what I mean? So I think the tendency is like you'll experience something and almost not magnetize it per se, but you'll think like, oh, well, then that's how, certain people are just like that, or I'm the only one who doesn't cheat. It's like you don't have to stand alone in your truth. And I think that's part of what you feel sometimes you are, like you're the only one who is this way. And I think you need to believe that there are people who have the same thing as you. Does that make sense for dealing with your shadow side? It's like you're generous, but therefore, like you feel like you're generous and you're the only one who's giving. And so it's like, oh, well, no one exists like me, or no one does what I do, or no one is giving like I'm giving. But the point is, if you exist, you're proof that does in fact exist. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like you are the proof that good exists. You are the proof that honest people exist, that strong people exist. And so if that exists in you, pile 3, then why can it not exist in someone else? Yes, there are people who are not like that. Yes, 7 out of 10 times more, the majority of people aren't like that. But you're one of the 3 out of 10. Why is there not another 2? And so I think that's part of how to deal with your shadow side, is to eat your own words. Like, if you believe these things about yourself, why can there not be someone else out there like you? Or why can there not be other people like you who aren't betraying, who are maybe afraid of betrayal too, who have also been cheated on but have never cheated? It's sort of this mentality that you need to take on of truth, that like, because my truth exists, I believe it also has to exist in someone else. And I think that's something you have a hard time trusting or believing. And I do see like a lot of trust issues. That's like the main issue here, is you have a lot of trust issues. And I get it, baby. The world is not nice. I get it. So we're going to look at the disadvantages. For the disadvantages, you have dream and help from above. Hang on one second here. I think I'm going to get a clarifier. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, why is this a disadvantage? These are positive cards, and I was trying to figure out why this is a disadvantage. All right. The reason why this is a disadvantage, your shadow self, is because I think someone, and this does feel like you've had someone betray you, or you've had experience or something that has validated your fears. At some point, you have developed a fear out of experience and past betrayal. So that comes through strongly. And this is a disadvantage because your dream exists. I think that's what spirits kind of get at. Like your skepticism, your albeit earned skepticism, but your skepticism towards the belief in the romantic and the magical, because this is next to the 4 Wands. I didn't even notice, and this is who you are. And it's funny because you even had this Knight of Cups in reverse, which I was kind of like, it's interesting. You're so goal driven and go getter, but I do feel this secret romantic side of you, and this secret side that really does believe in love. And I think it is covered over by skepticism and betrayal. And the point is that this shadow aspect of you that is afraid of betrayal, or has trust issues, or is, constantly letting other people overly use you, it's your disadvantage because I feel like it's blocking. I almost feel like this is a soulmate you're looking for. And this was a romantic kind of scar or shadow self that you have. But anyway, it feels like it blocks your potential to meet your soulmate. It's like you're defensive against your own heart, you're defensive against the help from the divine to bring someone who is genuine. You're defensive against maybe the dreams that you have of someone. And so the disadvantage of your shadow side is you won't if you don't deal with it and like start to acknowledge that there are people like you out there, there is someone who is loving and kind. There is someone who doesn't cheat but can still be generous and going. Like there is someone like you out there. You have a soulmate. I think this is what, like, I feel this strongly. Like, you have a soulmate. And I find it's funny because the King of Swords usually stands alone in the Rider-Waite tarot deck. He's by himself on the throne, but in this one there's this like little being with the globe. And so I don't know where your soulmate's at. Maybe they're in a different country than you are. I get that, kind of. Or they're just somewhere far away, but it's like, you have, this one's not alone. And I think that's part of it. You're not alone. Like, eat your own words in the sense of, if you're this person, if you're as awesome as you are, and I do feel like you may not always acknowledge how awesome you are, but you have an inkling. Again, you're way too intuitive to not have an inkling. If you think you're the only one like that, you're essentially blocking someone like that from coming forward. You know what I'm saying? And so there are people like you. I think that is your, and so this is the disadvantage to your shadow self is if you don't allow yourself to stand by that truth that I am this way, and therefore there must be a soulmate or someone out there who is also this way. Allow yourself to be kind of romantic. It's, you block this person from coming in. It's like you keep yourself from dreaming. You keep yourself from having freedom of imagination, I think. I feel a blocked romanticism in you, that you are romantic, but you kind of block it in yourself a little bit because you're skeptical of people. And again, I feel this is a justified skepticism. You're not a skeptic out of just bitterness. You're a skeptic out of experience. And I understand that completely, but if you are looking to get a partner, or you really have secretly been wishing to find someone who is like you, or your person, your life person, I do feel that, then you'd have to let go. You know, you have to let that fear of betrayal go, because they can't get close to you then if you trap yourself in a box. So let's just see. You have Trickster as your archetype card. And so for the light attribute, you have transcending convention, stuffiness, and predictable behavior. And for the shadow attribute, manipulating others through duplicity. With the shadow attribute and the light attribute, I feel like you embody these perfectly. Like, you are a go-getter. You can definitely, I definitely do feel you are honest. You're going, you're even with your shadow side, you're unprecedented, I think would be the word. You're unprecedented. And I think that also means that if you wanted to, you could really manipulate people a lot. I don't think you choose to. Yeah, I'm hearing no. You don't choose to manipulate people, but you could. And I think it's more so the more you feel backed into a corner, the more you feel threatened or betrayed or hurt, you're more likely to resort to manipulation. If you, not that you do, but that's like a little bit of a tendency that you might kind of notice yourself. It's like, if you think, I don't know, for instance, this is a very bad example, and I'm not saying this is something you've done, but say you really loved your partner and they were threatening to leave you. You might kind of like manipulate the situation so they stay. But it's like, if they didn't want to stay, there's no use in trying to trap them staying. Not that you would do that. Again, I don't feel like that was an exact situation. It was just an example on how that kind of works. It's like, I'm not saying you would fake a pregnancy or anything crazy like that, although maybe, but you might kind of, I don't know, maybe you'd play up your emotions a little bit to get them to stay, or you would do a little bit of something that could keep someone staying. And you could do this. Again, want to stress, does not mean you have done this, just means that you could. And the point of all this is to say that you're like a magician. You're like a magician. You could make anything happen. And it's funny because out of everything you want, I feel like you want love the most underneath. You're so sweet. Pile 3, you're sweetie Bobidi, okay? You're a sweet little pumpkin, a sweet little cinnamon seed, a sweet little cinnamon roll pumpkin seed, apple spiced latte. I just totally put a bunch of words together. But you're a sweetie. And I think your shadow self is manifested from hurt and pain and fear of betrayal. And taking other people's words to heart, or other people's insults or things to heart. And the way out of that is to just stand by yourself. Like, stand by your truth, but not just stand by it. Be like, give people the benefit. I think this is what it is. Give people the benefit of the doubt that not everyone is like the people you've known. Okay? Because there are people who are different. There are people who are genuine. And if you're already setting someone up for failure, then of course they're going to fail. You know what I mean? Like, if you're constantly giving people tests you know they won't pass, stop giving them tests. Like, I think I'll also hear train people how you want them to treat you, pile 3. I think you're already pretty good at that, but it's like, if you, for instance, if you have a fear of betrayal, don't go to a skeezy place to look for someone to date. This is totally an example, and it just came out of my head, and I don't think it applies at all. But for example, say you're a man, because I do feel masculine energy, but I know my audience is predominantly female, so you could be a female, but say you're a man and you're looking for a genuine, like, wifey type person. Do you think you're going to find a wifey type person at a strip club? You know what I'm saying? Like, be honest and real with yourself. Like, if you're setting people up for failure, putting yourself in situations or around a bunch of superficial IG models, like, you're not obviously going to find the genuine woman you're looking for. Don't put yourself, therefore, in situations or with plans that don't align with what you really want. And finally, looking back at this disadvantage, it's like, don't shun the divine in your dreams from helping you. Don't turn away from your innocence. I think that's something. Don't turn away from your innocence. Let that be. Let that exist, because it's there for a reason, and I think it is going to lead you to love, because I do see you having a lovely counterpart. Okay, pile 3? So that is all I have for you. Of course, always more I could say, but I feel like sometimes I sound like a broken record, and I don't want to be, so we're going to end it here. I hope you enjoyed this reading, you sweet little soul you. Comment down below if you did, and if you have any suggestions, comments, things like that, and I will see you in the next one, pile 3. Bye. Okay, hello, pile number 4, my beautiful final pile. If you chose Hathor, then this is your reading. Let's get into this. Right away, I was like, when I was shuffling this pile out, the Lil Wayne song, How to Love, just came to my mind, and I was singing it literally before I started this. So I don't know, maybe that song has some significance to you, or you know something about that song, or that applies to you. I do feel like I have my people of color in this pile. I mean, you could be, you know, whatever ethnicity or background. Obviously, we're all welcome here. But this might just be extra confirmation for some of you, like, if you're a person of color, because I just feel that energy, and also with Hathor, pretty sure that's an Egyptian goddess, so. And as we know, Egypt is, let's be real here, it's in Africa. All right, y'all? This is just basic geography. I know it's the Middle East, but, like, Middle East of what? We don't get into that. Let's get into it. Who are you? You have the World in reverse, the 7 of Cups upright, and the 9 of Pentacles in reverse. Also, now that I'm seeing Hathor, I feel like a lot of you may have a close connection with Egypt, or you feel kind of some connection with Egypt, just because that comes through. Again, Egypt, or maybe you have African ancestry, and there's just something about you that's very sensual, I would say sexy, and because Hathor is the goddess of women, sky, fertility, and love, so I definitely feel feminine energy in this pile. Again, we see that repeated with the 9 of Pentacles in the World, and I always see these little things on her dress, and I always think it's like the Venus sign almost. It's just like the red, I don't know. So, where was I? You are... Who are you? I didn't even go through... I forgot this for the last pile, too. Sorry, I'm all over the place. We're starting with who you are. We'll get into what your shadow is. Then we're going to get into the advantages and disadvantages of your shadow, and then how to deal with it. So that's the structure of this. Anyway, you are a person of layers. I feel that. A layer and multitude. You're a person with a lot of sensual energy. I just keep being drawn to the How to Love song by Lil Wayne. And I love that video. The video is really sad because it's like... It shows two different... It shows... If you haven't seen that video, maybe look it up. Lil Wayne, How to Love. But in the video, it's like the girl goes through life, and you see her life if her mom goes back to, like, this abusive ex-boyfriend, and she visits him in prison. And then, like, it goes to the scene where basically she gets HIV. And then there's a scene where they rewind it all back. And instead of going... back to the husband, the mom decides to go to her mother, and so then her life is completely different, and she ends up getting pregnant at the end, but it's like because she has a husband and she's in love or whatever. I feel like that's like you've had like your life might have mirrored one of those paths where it's like either your mother didn't make really good decisions or she did, and there's just something about women and like kinship here that's so vital to who you are. You're a supporter of women. You are a sensual person. Like, you're very in touch with Venus, and Venus rules Libra and Taurus, so maybe you have Libra or Taurus somewhere in your chart because that comes in heavy. Yeah, definitely Libra and Taurus somewhere in your chart. I just feel a lot of, or you could have water energy because the water is like the emotions and the femininity, so that's Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, but you're a very receptive person. You're very loving. I get a feminine energy is all about receiving. It's all about it's passive, but not passive. People think passive is negative. It's not negative. It's allowing things to come to you. And that is the energy that you embody. Someone who is presented with a lot of options and who has just a, like, I don't know, I just get wifey vibes from this. Like, you have wifey vibes. Like, people would want to wife you up. If you're a man watching this, I still think that's the same thing, just I think it's the same thing. I just think that your counterpart would therefore be more masculine because you just have more feminine energy. And ain't nothing wrong with it, okay? We all have both of it in us, and one tends to be a little more dominant. But I just feel you have a very loving energy. Like, if you're not a parent, you would make a very great parent if you are. So your shadow is the Wheel of Fortune in reverse and the Ace of Wands. Yeah. Okay, again, right back to that How to Love song. It's like, I don't know if your childhood felt lucky or if you struggled with your sexuality or your sexual energy, because again, the feminine energy is receptivity. It's bringing things in. It doesn't have to push out hard like the masculine does. And because of that, when you can draw things in, you can draw in good and bad things. So I don't know if you had very rough situations or potentially like sexually scarring experiences of sorts. You obviously don't have to go into this, and maybe I'll put a trigger warning. Yeah, I'll definitely put a trigger warning at the beginning of this because I don't want this to affect you in any negative way. Again, it's what I'm seeing and I want to be honest. So, and we have the Ace of Wands. Yeah, motherhood, like the generation of women is very important to you, and it is a part of your shadow side. Your shadow side, I'm not going to lie, Pile 4, seems like it stems deeper than you. It seems like it stems to your mom or to your grandma. Like, this is generation of women that, I feel like you've endured hardships. It's what it feels like. Like, your shadow side is manifesting as letting things happen to you. That's what I feel like, letting things happen to you instead of taking charge, because you are so in your feminine energy and power, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like it manifests as you allowing things to happen to you rather than you taking control and choosing choices. Like, the Wheel of Fortune, Ace of Wands gives me the energy of like, oh, things happen to me. Like, you know, someone attacked me and this happens to me. Like, all these things always happen to me, instead of the masculine energy is always like, I go get it. I make things happen. And I think that's kind of the energy you need to step into. This is your shadow side, but we're not looking into what exactly you have to do. We'll get to how to deal with it, but I do feel you struggle with feeling in charge of your own life. Yes, you struggle to feel like your life belongs to you and not to either things or other people or the experiences you've had. You struggle to feel or to make your life your own and to take ownership over it. And that can be really hard. And I think this is, again, I don't feel like your shadow side is starting with you or ending. Well, it could end with you because obviously you're here. You could help work through this. But this feels more like it stems generations. I mean, women are very strong. We're built to endure, okay? I have the utmost respect for women. I mean, so much crap has been done to women over the centuries. We know this. We've been enslaved. We've been treated as second-class citizens. I say we because I identify as a woman. Obviously, like, you hear my voice, and it sounds like I'm a girl, right? I would hope. But anyway, I think you have... like, you have generational trauma of women and the treatment and passivity, I think that's the word, where you just let, like, maybe your grandma was passive or your mom was passive and like bad things happen but they didn't do anything about it, and so you think too, it's like when bad things happen I can't do anything about it, and it's like, no, you can, like, you can do something about it. We're all victims in some way, and I'm not again, please go to therapy if this is very triggering, my god, but we have to take agency in our own life. Otherwise, things will always just be happening to us, you know? And that's your shadow side. So let's look at the advantages of this, because your reading is actually making me sad. I'm so sorry, Pile 4. It's quite the burden you've gone through. And I think that's something else that I just want to note for you is Pile 4, feminine energy is strong. Like, feminine energy is made to endure. Masculine energy chases and burns out. Feminine energy is like, you know, masculine energy is like the sprint. Feminine energy is the marathon. And so I think you need to give yourself more credit for everything you've gone through. I definitely feel that. Like, give yourself more credit because you're strong AF. Like, you're stronger than you know. You're stronger than you think. You're stronger than you believe. Let's look into this. Advantages. Yeah, and I think you have masculine energy in you. With this take off your mask, I feel like there is a go-getter, there's a sprinter inside of you. Like, yes, you've run marathons your whole life. Yes, it's been a long kind of process, maybe tedious at times, painful. It's like tripping and breaking your ankle and having to heal. But you also have masculine, like you have this feminine, but you have masculine too. Like you also have a strength to you. And I think the advantage of your shadow side is oh, I see. The advantage of your shadow side, I'm sorry, I might have misspoke, but is that your shadow side is genuine. Like, this world, we know. I might have talked about this in another reading. This world is very, at least America, but a lot of countries too, it's very patriarchal. It revolves around the man. The man is the breadwinner. The man does this, and feminine energy is often shat on. Let's just be real here. Feminine energy is shat on. It's like, it's women are second-class citizens. It's, oh, passive is terrible. Like, you don't want to be passive except if you want income, then you want passive income. We're not even going to get into that. But, there's a lot of things where we treat feminine energy as if it's lesser because it doesn't chase. You know what I'm saying? We treat that like it's lesser. Like, oh, if you want it, go get it. And I think there's a vulnerability. I think masculine energy is sort of like the armor, and feminine energy is the person underneath. It's like the soul. It's the softness. It's the emotions. And people don't give enough value to emotions and dreams and this more feminine qualities. And I think for you being that all the time is such a testament to your authenticity to yourself. And I think that's your advantage, is like, you're 100% you. You're not afraid. You're still not afraid to be a woman, despite everything you've gone through. You're not afraid to be a woman. You're not afraid to be loving. You're not afraid to be kind. You're not afraid to show tenderness. You're not afraid to be creative. You're not afraid of this soft side of you. And a lot of people are, or a lot of people don't want to acknowledge they even have those sides. And so that is the advantage of this kind of feminine energy that you have. So let's look at the disadvantage. It's so funny that I can't point this out because I just keep getting the feminine energy. It's funny to me that the 10 of Wands in this deck is a woman. I mean, that looks woman to me, right? Unless this man is wearing lipstick. News to me. But this woman is carrying the 10 instead of the man. And once again, this feels like a grandma or auntie. It feels like you got a lot of family that like this goes through, this energy, or a sister or something. But the disadvantage is I mean, the 10 of Wands is you taking on more than you should have to. It's you dealing with crap you shouldn't have to. It's like you being in a perpetual state of bad luck. You feeling like you're always on the bad side of the Wheel of Fortune. When the Wheel of Fortune, the thing about it is it goes round and round. It doesn't stay on one side forever. But if you always are seeing it that way, if that's your vision or if that's what you think life is, then of course that's what it's going to feel like, even if it isn't, And so that's kind of the disadvantage of this side, this letting these things happen to you side. Yeah, and this is just more about your energy. You have the monk nun, selfless devotion and single-minded dedication to spirit. Yeah, I feel like it doesn't show how multifaceted you are, because you're more than just, I know I've stressed how you have this intuitive, giving, feminine, tender energy, but you're more than that. Like, you're also, I told you when I was talking about your advantages, you also have an inner strength. You also have masculine qualities. And so I think this can kind of isolate you to one type of way of being that isn't true, because you're a multifaceted being. All right, so let's look at how you can deal with this. We have alchemy, companion. Oh, yes, I love this energy. And exorcist. All right, first off, the one way you can deal with this is anything that's hurting you, it's got to go. It's got to go. It's got to go. I am getting, again, there was a trigger warning at the beginning of this. Skip ahead 10 seconds. And this may not apply to all of you, keep in mind. But I am getting a strong, like, sexual abuse or sort of like bad experiences, even if it wasn't abuse, but like just a bad experience or a negative experience that you've had. Or even just, it doesn't even have to be that it was an actual sexual abuse, but it could have been like words people said. I get that too. People always commenting on your body or something like that. It was like the way your femininity is expressed breeds comments and breeds like an energy towards you. You know what I mean? People feel some type of way about you. And I think that is because it's such a genuine, it's your emotions. It's what's underneath all the crap. Point being, how to deal with this. Anything that is not supporting your being has, I think for now, just gotta go. I think there's a point where you'll be able to free other people from these kind of mentalities. Also, just the idea that masculine is better, that masculine is the way you have to be. You know, you can't be successful if you're feminine, or blah, 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 or you can't be loving and be a boss. You know, there's like lots of things. And that this is the thing about a goddess. Like, a goddess is a goddess. You know what I'm saying? Like, a goddess is a creation. A goddess is above the rank of human. And I also hear that Ariana Grande say God is a woman, so it's like, there's power to femininity. Let's not act like it's just nothing. Like, why are these men going to war? You know what I'm saying? I think it was a How I Met Your Mother episode or something where they're like, every conflict in the world boils down to sex, you know? So it's kind of like, women have power. I'm all about women empowerment and seeing the power of being soft, loving, and tender. I think it's way, way undervalued. And so you deal with this by letting go of things that don't value that, at least for now. I feel at least for now that's what Spirit says. Followed by surrounding yourself with people who support you being loving, you know? I do see a community of women. What movie was that? Like The Color Purple or something? I see a community of women, like women supporting women. That's what I hear, like women supporting women. That's what you need. I think you need, the thing about healing, and that's a very feminine quality, healing. It's not a masculine quality and you can't heal with fire. I mean, okay, let's not get into that. But like, I mean, I'm sure you could say like, oh, you can close the wound with fire, but you can't heal with burning something some more. You know what I mean? You need water to put out the fire. And so I think for you need to surround yourself with more love. You actually have to surround yourself with more feminine energy to heal, with empowered feminine energy, but feminine energy nonetheless. And I feel like if you're around the right people, you'll see you're able, with this alchemy card, is how to deal with it, is you'll like be able to channel it. You'll be able to channel your feelings into creativity. And I think that's something, because the feminine can take all of this pain and it breeds creation. I mean, if you just think about sex at the most fundamental level, like the first time anyone has sex, I mean, some people could be good, but it's painful. Like, you have, as a female, if you're not a female, I'm so sorry, because this is just like, I'm really going on in a woman direction. You're like penetrated, and that can hurt, and then you like have a kid. Or even like lions, you know, the lioness kicks off the lion because it hurts to have sex. Anyway, point being, it's not always pleasant, but then you can breathe life from it. You literally bring in the whole being, and you see that here in the Ace of Wands, her holding this baby. You bring in a whole freaking baby with you receiving stuff in. And I feel like that's what it is. Like, you and whatever you've gone through, it is creation, and it's like you're going to be able to create from it, because you are, femininity is creation in itself, you know? Yeah. So, is there anything else I'm seeing for my pile number 4s? And again, if you're a male watching this and you've stayed on this long, kudos to you, sir. I do think this is dealing with your mother. Like, oh my God, I have to do this every reading. I'm like, what am I supposed to do here, Spirit? Like, you give me these mommy problems every reading. But I do feel like this is being your own mother and mothering yourself. And being a man, I don't know. I feel like part of being a person, or even a man, a good man, is like having emotional maturity and knowing how to deal with your emotions. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think if you're a man, it's also like surrounding yourself with people, men even, who are supportive of emotional expression, because literally we all have emotions. They're like the basis of, you come out and you cry. You know, you literally come out of the womb crying. So ain't no one out here never cried before. You know what I'm saying? I don't like how we like to suppress things all the time. And you have the 6 of Swords in reverse. Yeah, I feel like the message for you is, you don't have to leave behind the soft part of you. You don't have to leave behind the loving part of you. I think you just need to find a community that supports that. I feel that. It's not about leaving behind. It's not about faking being something else. It's about letting go of the things that don't support your loveliness. Because really, then what are they there for? Nada. Nothing. And I think it means moving more towards your love. And I don't know, I just feel you're like at an ashram, or you're just somewhere where people are just loving and they're kind and you don't feel the harsh energy. And this does feel like maybe you have to actually physically move. But also I think it's the way you think about it. Again, and I think it's taking more, it's not accountability, but more control of your life. It's like, once again, things are not happening to you. You get to make choices. Like, you're not just, again, a victim. And Because, like, I guess if we're going back to the sexual abuse example, okay, I'm not saying this has happened to you, and I'm really, 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 really sorry if this is triggering you. Maybe if you have, like, ways that you think I could dance, or not even dance around the subject, but address this subject with more sensitivity, please comment down below, because I can be rather blunt, and sometimes I need to be, reminded of ways of my own feminine energy. So if that is something, and this has bothered you with this reading, please comment that, because I would want to correct it and find better ways to word things. But with this Six of Swords, it's like you need to leave behind the idea that you're a victim. After someone is attacked or raped, it's like, yes, they were a victim, and I guess in some ways you always are a victim, depending on how you want to identify it. I don't have enough grief and trauma counseling to go through this, but after that, you get to make choices. Like, you can let that rule your life and constantly hide in a room, or never see men again, or never go out ever again because you're afraid someone's going to hurt you. Or you can make the choice to be empowered and be like, okay, I lived through that. You know what I'm saying? It's like a perspective thing too. I lived through that. I'm still alive. I'm still standing. I'm still strong. I'm still loving. I'm still kind. You did not tear me down. I'm stronger than you will ever be, because if I did this to you, let's just reverse the tables here. If I did this to you, you would crumble. You would fall. You'd probably commit suicide. And I don't say that lightly. Again, really going to need to put a trigger warning and probably learn to filter myself. But you are standing. Like, you're so strong. You're so strong. There's no way you would have been able to handle or endure this. Women are so strong. Oh, I love women. But it's just, I want you to really understand that. And even if you're a man, it's that same kind of concept, okay? I feel like this applies. Yeah, they're like, regardless of gender, it's just that energy. So yeah, I think you need to give yourself more credit for being incredibly strong and stop viewing life as happening to you, and take kind of control of your narrative, because it's your life, okay? No matter what happens to you, no matter what people do to you or try to do to you or try to make you believe about yourself, this is your life, yours, no one else's. And you are your fate master. Yes, things happen to us. Yes, things are outside of our control sometimes, and we have to go through things that aren't fun and that are hard. But it's not about what's hard. It's about what you do after that. It's like, do you let that control your life, or do you say, no, this is still my life? Do you close yourself off, or you say, I'm still going to be loving and kind? You know what I mean? It's not even what you go through. It's like what you do with it's a saying, it's not about what you got, it's about what you do with what you got. And the more you use that to just be more loving or more creative and channel it and change it, alchemically change that grief and that sadness, or those that mindset, the more you'll see what a goddess you are, really, or a goddess, however you identify. So that's all I'm seeing for you, pile 4. Wow, I feel like I don't even know. I don't even know what I just did. Comment down below, again, if this was, I'm going to put a trigger warning in the beginning, but I want you to grow as a person and really know that you are loved, you are strong, you're amazing, and I wish you all the fucking best, pile 4, all the fucking best, okay? That's all I have for you. I will see you in the next one, and I hope you take great care of yourself and you find some supportive, loving other women to support you. I support you, and you will find others. I will see you in the next one, pile 4. Bye.